Welcome, everyone. My name is Dan Yoder with Sign Art Studio, and this is the Make Signs Not War podcast, where I get the pleasure of speaking with my heroes in the sign industry. These are folks that have inspired my journey in this trade, and my hope with this podcast is to not only shed a light on this amazing craft that we are part of, but also to get some insight on how these folks got into the trade and what they love about it and why they made it their life's work. So my first guest is Mike Chamberlin, who started Vital Signs in Verona and was the one who gave my punk ass a job at 19 years old in this industry. So welcome, Mike.
Hey, thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here, and I think this is a great idea.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't know about the sign industry, so it's
a
good way to get it out there.
Yeah, it's a ghost trade. I think people see signs. They don't see how they get installed. They have no fucking clue how they get built.
Right.
And I think it's a special trade. And so, yeah, I'm excited. And the goal of this, again, is just to talk shop with my mentors, the people that either brought me up in this trade or who have inspired me throughout the years. So you are guest number one, Mike. So
yeah, that's an honor.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Thanks again. So yeah, let's talk about how you got into this. How did you get into the sign trade?
Yeah, I mean, it all started back when I went to MATC. I was in the commercial art, associated degree in commercial art. This was back in the late 70s, 77, 78. And at the time I was just learning the commercial art trade and hated it, basically.
Okay.
And worked for a sign company. My ex-wife, Debbie's dad's wife, worked at a sign shop in Cottage Grove called Gem Signs, James E. Miller.
Okay, and that's here in Wisconsin?
They're no longer in business, but they were in Cottage Grove.
And what type of signs did
everything was hand-painted. I mean, this was before computers, so
Sweet.
Everything we did was with a brush, laying things out on the truck door, with a Stabilo.
Nice.
Making patterns.
Yep.
And traveling to body shops or garages to paint people's trucks.
Cool.
The lettering on the doors. Yeah, it was a great experience. So I got my feet wet there and worked there for a summer, and then did a little traveling around the country on my motorcycle. I went down to Florida for a few years and out to Arizona, and in both states I got jobs at sign companies. One was with a company that did electrical signs, so I kind of learned how to bend channel letters. And
okay, cool.
Learned about neon and installations and digging holes and pouring concrete and things like that. So I really enjoyed that type of work, but I also had this artist creativity itch inside of me that I just wanted to create things, and knew I couldn't make a living as an artist, so thought, well, signs, when I started working for these sign companies, one was painting truck doors, one was electrical, and got my feet wet.
Yeah.
And then when I lived out in Arizona, I noticed a bunch of the window painting. The window splashes is what they call them. It's done with bright fluorescent paints, and it was the temporary type advertising that a lot of businesses had on their windows, and it just really attracted me. And I learned how to do that when I was in Arizona. And when I came back to Wisconsin in 1992, I ended up knocking on a car dealership's door, John Erickson Chevrolet in Verona, back in 1992.
Okay.
And showed them a few pictures of some signs that I had painted in Arizona, and they wanted me to paint the 92 closeouts on the showroom windows.
Okay, nice.
And I did, and they loved it so much that they contacted 25 different Chevy dealerships in the area, and I was on the road painting window signage. And I had an 800 number that I would put on the windows, and my phone started ringing off the hook, and I just couldn't keep up with it. So, I mean, that's kind of how I got going on it.
Awesome. Well, let's take a look at some of those window signs, because those are pretty fun to do. I know when I worked for you at Vital Signs, we went out. I think we did a couple of those Oases.
Yeah, those
over
are pretty
Chicago,
fun. Yeah, over the highway.
Pretty cool. And being up on those ladders over the interstate like that was a pretty fucking wild experience.
Yeah, the whole window shakes when a semi goes by, and then those fuckers would like honk their horn at you when you're on a ladder 20 feet in the air. And
yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So yeah, I remember you talking about that's how you got into it. And yeah, going out to do those are challenging because you're laying all that shit out right there on the spot
by hand.
Yep,
On
by
ladders,
hand.
yeah, 6 foot tall letters. You know, some of them on these windows especially. But yeah, it was a great experience a great learning experience to learn how to lay out a sign.
Yeah.
You know, when you have to do it right on the spot and big windows and then there's dividers in between the windows, and yeah, it was a challenge, but it was fun. But it became so busy for me with the windows is that I had to end up hiring a guy.
Yeah. Okay.
And then it was a funny story because we had a bunch of windows to do in Michigan and Indiana, so southern Michigan and northern Indiana.
Yep.
For a car dealership. So we drove over there in one of the Vital Signs vans, and the plan was to train this guy for a week on the road, and then I was going to fly home.
Okay.
So Bernie Poff, he has a sign company in Sauk City right now, but he worked for me for like maybe 5 years, and I took him on the road, and he knew nothing. And
At
so,
all? Period.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah. And after a week, I said, well, good luck.
Peace.
See you later.
I got shit to do.
He took me to the airport. I flew home because then I had a sign shop in Verona, Vital Signs, and we just had work to do.
Yeah. That's cool. That's awesome.
And then one of the things, too, just when I had that sign shop, I remember Tom Cleary walking in from Cleary Building in Verona, and I had no computer. All I had was some paintbrushes and some paint.
Okay.
I knew how to do the vinyl because that's where the sign industry kind of has turned vinyl and printing. But he asked if he pulled in a truck to my shop and he said, hey, can you do this lettering? And it was all vinyl. And I said, oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And he said, well, how much would you charge? And I said, it'd be $150. He goes, well, I can get it done in Madison for $140.
Okay.
And I said, well, it's going to cost you $10 in gas to get to Madison and back, 2 guys and that. He said, okay, I'll have a truck here on Monday. I had no computer, no vinyl, nothing. I was calling. I had it overnight shipped, and Monday it was there with green and black vinyl and the plotter and the computer, which
everything.
I didn't even know what a C drive was. I had no idea about these computers.
What was the software that you had to use then? Do you remember?
You know, I don't remember. Yeah.
It's funny. I remember using Casmate.
Yeah, that might have been Casmate.
Yeah.
It's so long ago, I can't remember.
Interesting. Yes, I never knew the story about that Cleary trucks because
sorry to interrupt, but we've been doing Cleary trucks. Or Vital Sign has been for 30 years.
Yeah, still doing it. Yeah,
still doing
that's crazy.
30 years later. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we'd line those fuckers up and just pound them out.
Yeah.
And you get to a point where you're doing them where I remember I'd tuck a yardstick into the body line, draw with a blue Stabilo.
Yep.
And the way that you had the vinyl cut, that's all I needed. Just line up that one line on the bottom,
slap them on,
and you could knock them out.
Yeah.
Those are fun.
They were buying like 60 trucks a year at a time.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I see them everywhere.
Yeah,
all over the country.
Yeah.
So
it's been a good account for Vital Signs.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. All right, so yeah, Vital Signs. When did you start Vital Signs again? You may have already said that.
Yeah, that was back in 1992.
92.
Yeah, so I was in Arizona working at a sign shop, and then was out there for actually 11 years, and then moved back to Wisconsin in 92.
Okay.
And worked for a sign company, Main Street Lettering.
Okay.
In Marshall, Wisconsin.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
What was her?
Well, Mark Kramer's, who owns Vital Signs now, part owner, is dating.
That's right.
Donna.
Yes,
who
Donna.
I work for.
Yeah. Okay.
So Heather is Donna's daughter.
Okay.
And so I worked for Donna for like maybe 3 or 4 months, and then the windows just took off.
Okay.
So I had to go on the road. And then found a shop in Verona for $450 a month, utilities paid, and it was just like a 1-car garage with a loft, and you could barely pull a dump truck inside of it. And if you were lettering the doors on the dump truck, your back would be up against the wall. It was so small, and I thought, man, this is great. I'm just going to be here for the rest of my life, painting signs.
Yep.
And then one thing led to another. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that shop. That was. I remember driving by and seeing the vans. So. Yeah, if we could see a picture of these vans, because I think, branding is important, and one thing I know about Vital Signs, even before I knew about Vital Signs, was the vans.
Yeah.
And those were, they're so eye-catching. And I think part of the super important, I think anyway, from what I remember, and I remember talking with you about this, is how important those were for you and how much you invested in the time, you know, to do the artwork on the vans, and that how much you would, you know, how much work you would get out of them. I remember you were like, I get so much work out of these, you know, these are, you know, important. And I think, you know, for a sign art studio too, I remember that, and that's very important for us. And I think, you know, in the larger industry, you've kind of got the big commercial shops, you've got digital shops, you've got, you know, this kind of traditional stuff, which Vital Signs did a ton of, you know, dimensional signs, pinstriping, airbrushing, hand lettering. And it seems like it's only those more traditional shops that invested in, you know, pimping out their vehicles. And Vital Signs is a perfect reflection of that. I mean, I think it was that van in the bottom left corner there with the eyeballs poking out that caught my eye. And I was like, I don't even know what they do, but I want to work there. I don't know what they do. And I think I don't know how that all transpired, if that was through my mom. Yeah, I talked to her, and maybe you'd done some work for her at Nedderbo's, maybe. I don't remember exactly how that panned out.
Well, I mean, I first met you because of your dad.
Okay.
Like, he brought his boat in, that big-ass boat he had.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Remember? The doghouse?
The doghouse, yep.
So he wanted me to letter the back of the boat, you know, Doghouse, Madison, Wisconsin. And when he came to pick it up, he said, are you looking for help? And we were always looking for somebody, you know, just to push a broom and do some, you know, take out the garbage and kind of get their feet wet.
Right.
And he said, well, my son, he's interested in art and things like that.
Yeah.
And I said, well, have him stop over.
Yeah.
And so, you did.
Yeah.
I hired you.
Oh, my God, dude. Well, again, thank you for doing that. To really, you know, one thing I guess I didn't touch on in the beginning is that it really changed the course of my life, you know, giving me that opportunity, Mike. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for that.
Yeah, no,
for the first shot and the second shot you gave me.
Yeah, well,
and
you're welcome. And it was great to work with you and to basically show you the ropes. And then I'm super impressed and happy for you how far you've taken it from that point. That. Yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you. That means a lot. But yeah, I remember. I don't think you were there. Actually, in fact, the first day I showed up, nobody was there. I knocked on the door. No, the whole place was fucking locked.
That's funny.
And I'm like, all right, what the hell? So
we must have been hungover and sleeping in or something.
Yep. Which I think is also funny. Kirk Crawford, who's been with me at Sign Art for I think 13 or 14 years now.
A long time,
showed up to his first interview and I wasn't there. So,
okay,
like,
so you learned that from me.
Yeah. Where was I going with this? But yeah, I remember you were gone and I was at the shop, and Mark and I don't know who else was working there at the time. I don't remember, but Mark was like, all right, you got to coat out these panels. You'll remember this.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, you know, Mark had him up on a sawhorse, and I don't know if we're using one shot or what, it was an oil-based paint, coating out panels, learning how to get a nice smooth finish with an oil-based paint and a foam brush, working the bubbles out. And I'm like, I don't know why we're doing it up on the sawhorse. I'm going to take it down to the floor.
Yeah.
And I set the panel on the fucking floor, and I sat Indian style next to it and rolled paint off the paint or the roller off the panel onto the floor, from the floor back onto the panel, back and forth.
It was like a sandpaper
Oh my
panel.
God, it was hilarious. And Mark was like, what the fuck is this kid doing? So yeah, I think my first tenure there didn't last too long.
Yeah.
And
it was interesting because you would always like show up late or come in super hungover or stoned or something, and I was just like, all right, the kid's a teenager. That's what these kids do, I guess, and I'll give him a chance, you know.
Yeah.
A couple days later, you're late again. Next week comes around, you're late. And one day the phone rang, it's like 10 o'clock, and we start at 8. And,
Yep.
hey, Mike, this is Dan. I'm just, I overslept, man. I'm like, I'll be right in. I'm like, dude, don't
worry about it.
Just stay home, go back to bed. You're done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was hard because, you know, when you have a sign company and we're small, I never had more than 5 employees. You know, you have, I don't know, 30 or something. But for me, losing one guy was big,
It's huge. Yeah, absolutely. And, it's interesting because at that time in my life, even though I knew when I first started there, like, I was like, whoa, like, is this for fucking real? Like, I can make a living doing this.
Yeah.
I didn't have my head on my shoulders. I was 19. I barely graduated high school, and wasn't going down necessarily a good path.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had a daughter on the way at the time, I believe.
Well, Kaya, I remember we went to Daytona for Bike Week to paint.
Yep.
She was pregnant. You were pregnant with her.
And well, no, that must have been, unless that was the first time, because did we go on?
We went twice. Once with Kramer.
And
you and I went once.
Because Kai was born in 99.
Okay.
So, and I was 19. So I think I had, started, and then showed up late every fucking day. And then I got let go with good reason. Sometimes that's what you need.
Yeah.
You need that. You need a little slap in the face.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And then I think that's when I went and did Landmark for him and kind of, re-looked at my life a little bit and what I was doing. I had a daughter on the way, and I might have some of that timeline a little messed up, but I remember coming back and being like, look, and I worked a shitty job. I put fucking piers in on the lake, and it was like in the spring, and it was terrible, and I hated lugging pier sections around. And I was like, fuck this, I can't do this. I want to get my job back. And I asked you for my job back, and you gave me my job back. So
yeah, well, I thought that was, I think if I remember correctly, when you came back, you weren't on your hands and knees begging, but you were like, I really like this job, and I'm sorry, and I fucked up, and I want a second chance.
Yeah.
And I said, well, let me think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah.
For about 10 minutes. I knew I wanted you back because you were good, and you had the enthusiasm and the go-get, and were creative. Yeah. And so I was, I let you sweat maybe a little bit, like 24 hours or so.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
And then, so it all worked out then. And then I remember, like probably 5 years later, then you decided that you wanted to go on your own.
Yep.
Which a lot of people that had worked for me in the past did the same thing. Yeah. And I can't blame them. Right. I can't blame anybody for that. I mean, if you have that in you and you want to do it, then go for it. I mean, that's what life's all about, right? Yep. So was I pissed? Was I bummed? Was I like, fuck, I trained this guy for 5 years and he's really good, and now he's going to go start his own sign company, Yeah. But I couldn't not, let you do that or let anybody that's ever worked for me do that. And a lot of people have, and they've all, started out and have become pretty successful. Yeah. Not to your level where you've taken the company, but, they would be individual guys, solo sign shops, painting signs, and still making a living. Yeah. Yeah, and being creative. Yeah. So it's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And, it's one of those, like, Mike, I have some of the best memories. Some of the like the trips, the letterhead meets, all that stuff. I mean, you, Mark, and I mean, there are stories, and people know those stories, and they're great ones. And just the times that we had were so special. And when you're in it, in that moment, like, you're having fun, you're doing, but it's not until you look back on some of this stuff that you're like, wow, that shit was cool. Yeah. And so, I have not been in that position to where somebody has left, so I don't have the perspective on that, but I know it must have been, it's conflicting, you don't want to, hold anybody back in life, but at the same time, it's like,
you're building a business. Yeah, you're trying to build a business, and you're trying to get people in the same, groove that you're in. And yeah. And you were there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I have a guy, Adam Fetterman, and he came to work for us, and he kicked ass. He was awesome. But he's like a car builder, and I remember him, calling me up one day, and he's like, "Hey man, I got an opportunity. I've been nervous to tell you about it, to work for Ring Brothers in Spring Green, and they're like freaking world-renowned car builder." Yeah, no, they're awesome.
And I'm like, dude, because we're a little smaller at the time, and that, as you were saying, it's got a big impact. Yeah. Like, well, fuck, it's somebody that's like, finally on a roll. I'm not concerned that they're going to be putting fucking paint or dust in the paint job. Like, we got them tuned up. But you got to. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Yeah.
We get, as far as we're aware, we get to experience one life, whether that's reality or not, who knows? I can't answer that yet. At some point, I'll probably be able to. But so yeah, you don't want to hold them back. But yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, when you invest the time in that.
Yep.
I was just looking at these pictures up here. So the 105 FM, 101.5.
Yeah.
That's all hand painted. We did the ripped in the metal and the checkered flag behind it. It's not a very good picture, but diamond plate on the the numbers and the letters and that, all outlined, airbrushed, all hand done. And then it got clear coated. We didn't do the clear coat. And then on the top picture, the News 3, that's all hand painted and airbrushed. And they just came to us. It was a white Suburban. And we put the Vision film over the window so we could airbrush over those with the lightning bolts and that. But I saw that truck around a long time.
Yeah, me too. And I remember you and Mark painting on that 101.5 truck.
Yeah, were you working there?
I was working there then,
okay, cool.
I didn't get to touch that one.
Get away.
Keep him off the fucking truck. But I remember that.
We were still trying to teach you how to coat out boards on sawhorses.
Yep, probably. Yep.
And then that Verona laundromat, you're on the roof there putting the finishing touches on the install.
Yep. Yeah, I remember putting that one up.
Yeah, no OSHA there that day.
I was just going to say, OSHA, is this okay?
And then that bottom one was at David Kinniston's in Wales.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. I was wondering where that one was from. Yeah.
Yeah, Kramer and I were doing a demo on flames.
Okay, yeah.
And so we had, 10, 15 people that we were helping out with that. So that's that picture. That was a good meet.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, yeah, and then a train. In the sign industry, it's weird because look at just these 4 pictures. One's a billboard, one's a train, one's a mural on a wall at a travel agency, and the other one's just some custom lettering for I want to say that was Pokerville Ironworks.
I think so, yeah.
Motorcycle.
I think I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's that's what makes it interesting. There was never a day at work that was the same. And that's what I really loved about the industry.
Yeah, definitely. We do all sorts of stuff. The most random things, and the things that I enjoy the most are the ones that are challenging, whether that's, we looked at that photo of inside, was that a travel agency?
Yeah.
With that mural?
Middleton Travel, yeah.
Yeah. That's a challenge. You're going to do this airbrush mural inside of an office.
And we had to do it at night because we couldn't be in there.
Right.
So, it's late hours, but you just do it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's fun. All right. So letterheads. When did you first get into letterheads? How did that all come about?
I don't remember how I actually found out about letterheads, but it was probably the first one I went to, I want to say, was the brush down at Barry Quackenbush's back in, I want to say, 97.
Okay. All right.
And we drove there. It was in the winter. I remember that. And we just hung out at his shop. And at that particular moment, I knew this was what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Okay.
It just, something about being at a letterhead meet or being in a gathering when there's all this talent.
Yeah.
And people showing you things.
Yep.
Like gold leaf, how to hold a pinstriping brush.
Yeah.
What type of thinner to use with your paints.
Yeah.
Just everything that got me hooked.
Yeah.
And then,
definitely.
I've been all over Boise, Idaho, 1-to-1, Fargo, North Dakota, England,
London,
Scotland, Wales.
Yep.
We've had them at Vital Signs. We've probably had 6 or 7 letterhead meets. But what a great networking way to learn the industry. Just crazy.
Yeah.
The amount of talent that's out there.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, and for those of you who aren't familiar with letterheads, basically I would say it's a group of people that, it's from what I remember, and maybe I'm not getting this story straight, and hopefully I'll get it straight. I'm hoping that I'll get Noel on this podcast.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. He's one of the originals. Yeah.
Yep. And I believe it was started in the 80s, somewhere in there, by a group that kind of saw the writing on the wall about what was happening. I think vinyl, right? Was vinyl starting to creep in a little bit?
Yeah, in the 80s, yeah.
Yep. But how do we keep this traditional aspect of this craft alive? How do we pass it on? And it's fucking cool. And it's same thing with me. That's when the hooks were in for sure, 100%. And I think that was a McBob meet, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Mid-Coast Brothers of the Brush.
Yep.
Rick, Marv Was that the first one we went to that I went to with
Denver?
Denver? Yep.
Yeah, I want to say it probably was.
I think
yeah,
that was. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Denver had crashed the van.
You got this. You rented this super awesome conversion van from one of the
John Erickson.
Yeah,
Chamberlin.
John Erickson. Yep. All pimped out, the recliners and TV and all that shit. And yeah, you and I walked in, I think, to check in.
Check in the hotel.
Yeah. Denver just parked the van. Okay. All right. And he comes back up, and he always had his hand on his forehead, like, because he just fucks something up all the time. And he's like, I just wrecked the van, just corner to car.
Yeah, big dent in the side.
Yep.
Oh man.
But yeah, that was a great meet. I think were we at Rick's shop? Is that where it was? It was in Omaha, wasn't it?
It was in Council Bluff.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it was at a shop. It was it was. I don't think it was at someone's shop. I can't remember. Remember they had the barbecue guy outside and all that.
Yep.
Yeah. The one that really sticks out in my mind is Mazeppa, Mike Meyer up the
Yeah.
Mazeppa.
And I missed that one.
That was crazy. I bet there was 400 people there. Just took over the little town of Mazeppa, Minnesota.
I remember seeing photos, the parade,
the monster trucks, and everybody was painting these signs and gold leaf and dimensional truck lettering, pinstriping.
Yeah.
It was just amazing.
and all these local businesses got these killer signs from like the cream of the crop in the world probably at that time.
The sign people at that time,
Yeah. I
Mark
remember
Otis,
Gary Anderson, didn't he do like this killer storefront sign?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild stuff. I remember seeing photos from that, and that was, God, I don't know. That must have been, I must have just missed that by a year or two, I think.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Yep.
And we're having that one, you and I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That one, panel jam at Peace Farm.
Peace Farm Panel Jam.
Peace Farm Panel Jam, yeah. Next summer.
Yeah,
So,
August, yeah.
Yep. We're
That'll
still
be
trying
cool.
to
Yeah,
get all
figure
the
that one
plans
out.
together.
Yeah.
But yeah. I went to Winter Muster that Mike had at that same shop.
Oh, yeah, I just missed you.
Yep.
Stuart was there.
Yeah. All the I think the European. Do I say just England? Yeah, because there's more than that.
Yeah, Ashley.
Yep.
Scott.
Yep. Doing glass work. I remember. There. Yeah. That was a blast.
Yeah, and then these pictures here. Well, he just took them off, but those right there. I mean, a lot of motorcycle painting back in the day. Custom lettering with some, blending and things like that. So, Vital Signs always would do that, and I really had a passion for doing stuff like that, because we were known kind of for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, that was
in that area.
Especially like the JJO, like the big, big chopper days. I just remember. I mean, Vital Signs was it. People brought, everybody around would bring their bikes to get painted at Vital Signs. Yeah.
They're kind of a pain in the ass to do, though, because people expect perfection. I mean, it's all hand done.
Right.
And someone says, hey, put some flames or put some graphics on my fairing, and they have something in their mind.
Right.
And then you have something in your mind, and you kind of try to get on the same page.
Right.
And when they walk into the shop and look at it, a lot of times they'll go, oh, cool. Right. And you're like, what the fuck, man? I just spent 50 hours on this thing.
Right.
But then they take it out and they show their friends, and their friends are like, "Oh man, that's so killer!"
Yeah, for sure. Well, would you think out of all of it? I mean, do you think that's your favorite thing to do? Is the pinstriping, airbrushing on bikes, or what was the? I mean, that's what you do. You do a form of that now with your artwork,
right?
Which we can talk about in a minute. But out of all of it, what was your favorite type of work to do?
I mean, I think that would be it, but you really can't make a lot of money in it.
Right.
So it's fun to do, but the amount of hours that you have in a custom paint job, most people don't want to pay for it.
Right.
So if you really wanted to charge, let's say $100 an hour, and you've got 20 hours in it, there's $2,000.
Right.
And, a lot of people don't want to spend that.
Material too, especially if you're doing nice clear coats and all that.
Exactly. So yeah, it's a passion of mine, and now that I'm retired, it's something that I'm trying to explore a little bit more with the pinstriping art.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that pinstriping is on motorcycles or hot rods, and trying to take it to another level where you can actually hang it on a wall.
Yeah.
Put it in a frame, and it's a cool design. And there's a lot of great pinstripers out there, and I'm influenced by a ton of them. So it's really fun to try to, create something different. But yeah, pinstriping, I think for me right now, but that could change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's cool. I mean, I enjoyed the hell out of it. And I think, one thing that I did love doing is jamming on like a dump truck.
Mm-hmm.
You get a dump truck in, and I think about it now because now everybody wants to see exactly what they're going to get, dimensions and what the Pantone colors are and all this stuff, all views of every side. These guys would come in, and they might be a repeat customer. So maybe there was a logo designed or, a door design, but we'd change the colors up.
Yeah.
They wouldn't really, they're not getting 100% a drawing of what this thing looks like from the bumper to bumper.
Yeah.
And then we just jam doing.
Those are the hardest customers to please anyways.
Yeah.
It's so nice when someone drops something off and says, this is my general idea, have at it.
Right. Yep.
We're good enough. We should be. You're coming to us.
Right.
We kind of know what we're doing, right?
Yep.
So let us do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't tell a carpenter how to frame out my house or,
exactly.
Just do it. You're good at it. That's, everybody's good at something. And it just so happened that you and I can paint a sign and, let us do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I enjoy those customers. I do. I'll be honest. So I enjoy kind of a balance. Sometimes it's like they're like, do whatever you want. It's like, okay, shit. You have you don't know if you want a flame job. You don't know if you want gold. You have no idea what you want. That can be a little overwhelming too.
Yeah.
The pressure gets put on. So I like when someone's like, hey, here's some ideas of what I like. Here's my shit.
Right.
Do your thing. So there's a little bit of guidance, but
what I would always do, it felt like some big Harley guy would come in and he had a black motorcycle and he just wants something painted on. He's like, what do you want? He goes, I don't know. What just do whatever you want. Okay, a pink rose right here. Pink pinstriping. No, I don't want that. No.
Everything's in that.
Oh, you told me to do it.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes him think like, okay, maybe I should have a little input on this.
Yeah. Well, that kind of, it'd be a good time to talk about, doing shows and bike rallies.
Oh, that was
because that, you and I did 2 Daytona bike weeks together. One of them, Mark Kramer went with us, which was a blast.
Yeah, there was our setup there in Daytona that one year, right on the corner or right on the main drag, or not the main drag. We were kind of off the beaten path, but it was a main road.
Well, still, I mean, that was the investment was, if I remember correctly, somewhere around $12,000, right? That trip.
No, that was the other one. We were closer to the downtown.
That's right. Yeah,
this spot, I think we paid like $5,000 for 10 days.
And this was in 2004, I believe. If I looked at, because I think I saw some timestamps. Yeah.
Yep.
So did we go to the one with the 3 of us went was before this one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and you go up and it's kind of carnival life to a degree. You go set up.
Yeah,
shop.
there's you striping a bike.
Oh yeah, with my longer hippie hair and my some sweet cargo pants. But yeah, it's kind of a carnival lifestyle to a degree. You're living out, well, not living out, you're working out of a tent.
Yep.
During the day, and you have these people show up and
and look what time it is. I mean, it's not like we got off at 5.
Right. Yep.
This is probably 10 o'clock at night, and you get there at 10 in the morning, and or earlier.
Yep.
And you bust your ass all day, bike after bike after bike.
Yeah, and you don't even think about it.
Right.
And I think sometimes when you're in the shop, you can overthink it a little bit. Like this guy, he came in and like, I remember he wanted like a full gold leaf job.
Yeah.
And you're just like, dig in. You just go.
Yep.
And
it takes you all day.
Yeah. I think this was a couple day project.
It probably was, with the sizing and that setting up. But
yeah, full dresser lines, every, spun gold leaf. And I like that because with that pace, you don't overthink it. You're going to nail it. And then you have a couple of be like, this will work. It's professional looking at least, you know?
They would just plow, come in. What do you want? Oh, I want an eagle. I like eagles. How about a flag? So it just kind of, you just do it.
Yeah, and looking back on it, you think like you might feel this pressure, but you just kind of tune it out.
Yeah,
And I do remember one guy coming up to me and going, "Wasted talent." I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" He's like, "With steady hands like that, you should have been a surgeon." And I'm like, Jesus Christ, fuck off, dude. Like, I'm having a blast,
Right.
Right.
that was our little booth.
Yeah.
Remember we brought all those panels, and we had kind of a cool setup.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was right by that, like, was there like a chili place? We were in the yard?
Yeah.
Or something?
And those leather, those girls right there were selling chaps.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, we had a good time.
Yep. Yeah, that's a fun thing to do. I know there's a lot of guys that was like their jam. That's just what they did, all summer long.
Yeah.
Go to rally and do that. And that's quite a life.
Yeah.
But you can make some damn good money doing it.
Yeah.
Remember watching Steve Chizeka work.
Yeah, the wizard.
Just like blown away.
Yeah.
And he's just whipping this shit out.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a fun time. And a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
But the funny thing about the sign industry, and just looking at these pictures from the past, I mean, the money was made at Vital Signs by making signs.
Right.
This was the fun stuff.
Yeah.
You can still make a buck, but it was a good chance to get out of the shop for a week, 2 weeks, whatever we were gone, and then come back and, you're making signs.
Yeah.
So it's not like painting bikes every day. For Vital Signs, when they came in, we did them, helmets, goalie helmets, motorcycle helmets, bikes, cars, whatever.
Yeah.
But the signs is where we made the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's just hands down.
Yep.
It's hard to make it in the custom. I mean, people do, but for Vital Signs, there's no way we could just do custom work.
For sure. Well, yeah. And you start to understand, okay, here's what the shop needs to make per hour per guy. Mm-hmm. And then you start adding up the hours on some of these projects, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
And it's the same way, we don't do, I can't even remember the last time I did a straight up graphics job on a vehicle. It's, so we do mainly, as like electrical stuff, big sign packages, and we get some of these projects that in a way are similar where they're the ones that excite us. They challenge us. We get into it. We don't really know, is it like some crazy finish? Like we're blackening steel, doing some of these patina finishes, new materials that we're working with that we never have before. And those are the fun things that challenge us, but they're not always the profitable jobs, but it's what keeps you coming back.
Yeah. And that's a good point too. Cause I remember, doing this custom work for the love of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And to keep you fresh, keep the brush wet.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, you look at it and you go, man, that's just wasted.
Yep.
A whole
I made
week.
$12 an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
but yeah, for the love of it, it was great. But for the money, not so great.
Yeah. All right. So what are you up to these days? You sold Vital Signs. You're retired.
Yeah.
What are you doing now?
Yeah. So Vital Signs, the official sale went through right after COVID. It was going to be, right like in 2020.
Okay.
But then with COVID, I said to Mark and Justin's my oldest son, who worked for me, all through college, through high school, through college, and then after college. And he's been with Vital Signs probably 18 to close to 20 years. And Mark Kramer, great guy, great friend, actually came into my shop when I had the old shop on.
What was that?
Yeah. And whatever, the old shop. I'll think of the name or the address here. But and then he's been there, probably 25 years, 26 years, and then they ended up buying me out. Mm-hmm. My last day was December 31st, 2020, basically.
Okay.
But it was going to go a year prior to that, but then with COVID, I just sat those guys down and I said, hey, I can't do this. I can't leave you guys with this without knowing what the future is going to be.
Right.
So I hung in another year, but after that, it took a while to kind of get used to retirement, like maybe 24 hours.
Okay.
And it's great, So I have my wife Melissa and I. We bought a place out in Spring Green in the country. We've got a little bit of land and a nice outbuilding, and that was the main thing. I just
You've
wanted
got a killer shop.
Yeah,
out there.
thank you.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
It's good, so.
It's like a dreamland out there.
So that's my happy place. So it's all set up. One of the deals was when I sold Vital Signs. So over all the years of owning the sign business, we would take down signs or find signs, at auctions or whatever. So I started collecting letterhead meets. We had people would leave stuff, that they pinstriped or whatever. So I had a nice collection, and that was part of the deal. When I sell the shop, I get all of this.
Yeah.
So now I have that most of it hanging up in my new shop. So, Yeah, and then just hanging out. I've got a bike to paint a trike for a guy next week. He's going to drop it off for some pinstriping.
Nice.
I'll have that for 2 or 3 days. He's in no hurry for it, so I'll take my time with that. And then, just a stupid thing. A guy left a gas can, like an old gas can from the 60s. He wants me to like do his pinstriping and patina it and make it look old.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then the end of this October, I'm in an art show that is called the Fall Art Tour.
Okay, sweet.
And it starts up in Baraboo, runs through Spring Green, down through Dodgeville, and then ends up in Mineral Point. And people come from all over, and they go to the artists' workshops, studios, whatever you want to call it. There's potters, oil painters, woodworkers, and I'm the pinstripe guy, so I'll have pinstripe art on display. But people will actually come to the shop, can hang out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so they're actually going to come visit.
Yeah. So you go to different people's. It's you don't have. There's 100 artists. I want to say. You kind of pick and choose who you want to see.
Okay, cool.
So maybe nobody will show up.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
I doubt it. I doubt it. That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. I've got a lot of work to do, so I'll be in the shop playing.
Yeah.
For the next couple months.
Awesome. Well, I'm jealous. You have quite the setup and much deserved.
Thanks, Dan.
And definitely left a legacy with Vital Signs. And I think also with the people, that's one thing I guess I want to make sure that I mention here. One thing that you found it important to pass this trade on. You bring in young kids, younger, early teens. I remember Denver, myself. You've had some younger people come in and give an opportunity to understand what this trade is about and see if it's something that they want to pursue. And I think that kudos to you for that, because it's a pain in the motherfucking ass to bring people in who have no idea what they're doing, So, kudos to you for that.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and I'm glad it worked out for you, I'm gled you came back and asked for your job back.
Yeah, definitely. I am too.
I'm glad I gave it to you, and
Me
I'm glad
too.
that you went on your own. And,
Yeah.
And it's interesting, too, the relationship between sign art and Vital Signs has always been good.
Yeah.
I remember before you got your CNC router and we had ours, you would come and you gave us a ton of work.
Yeah.
And you were doing the Summit Credit Union signs.
Yep.
And all kinds of things, that we could work together with. And then, Vital Signs does a lot of dimensional signs and a lot of truck lettering, banners. They have a printer and a CNC. But you've taken it, with a lot of electrical. You're bringing back neon.
Yep.
You're trying to incorporate gold leaf, hand painting, and a lot of your signage.
Yeah.
So I think that's really great, because a lot of these big commercial sign shops you see nowadays, they are just banging out signs.
Yep.
Where you can see, and you'll notice one of Sign Art's signs, because it's got a little bit of hand flavor in it.
Yeah.
There's something that was done. It's not all computer generated.
Yep.
There's a little bit of that traditional sign work involved in your work. So I think that's great.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean that's has been very important to me, and I speak this to the crew very often. Is the foundation. We're not, sitting there hand painting a bunch of signs. We're not hand carving a bunch of signs, but it's the foundation of what we do. It's the core definitely from a design aspect. And doing these neon signs with hand painted graphics. I mean, Jesus, there's nothing cooler. There's nothing more fun. I love doing it. And I think, bringing some of that traditional aspect back in this sea of kind of digital AI and, all the shit that, the world is about to change pretty heavily with all the stuff that's going on. And I think it's important to keep some of this craft alive. And part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast, and certainly make sure that you're my first guest on it, because, it's kind of the foundation of what we do as a company. And I love it. I absolutely love this stuff every day. It's a pain in the ass. I'll tell you that. And you know that.
Yeah. But I feel really fortunate to be able to, when I was working every day, busting my ass, getting up sometimes 3, 4 in the morning because the job needed to be done, or staying there till midnight or whatever. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I was getting up 99% of the time wanting and couldn't wait to get back to work because there was a cool project we were working on, and it was like, man, this is so much fun.
Absolutely.
So to have a job where you love it,
mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't. I feel very fortunate and blessed that I was able to learn the sign trade and be able to make a living at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Same. Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks for the time today, Mike. It sounded like your Instagram got hacked.
Yes.
But I think hopefully by the time this goes out, we'll connect.
Okay.
I'll put some links in the description to check out your work. Also, our next guest, hopefully here, anyway, my next guest will be Ashley Bishop of the Brilliant Signs fame in London, England. Quite a character, Mike. You know him well.
Oh yeah,
he's an amazing dude, and talk about like a traditionalist. I mean, these guys they do reverse glass work and some crazy stuff.
Yeah,
and, glue chipping, and all sorts of fun stuff. So looking forward to that. Subscribe to our podcast. Also check out our website, makesignsnotwar.com. We also have Make Signs Not War TV on our YouTube channel. And my Instagram is Dan_Yoder_sign guy. Thank you all.